Hey guys, you're listening to John Scott's 15 and lots to get through on this one. See if I can make this with all the news that's been breaking. Haven't been on for a little while, so good to catch up with you guys. Don't forget, if you haven't subscribed already and you enjoy listening to little brief segments of wrestling that I've got to offer, please hit the subscribe button now and you'll never miss a show. Also go on to our WrestleLine.co.uk website. We're also on Instagram, WrestleLineChannel, and Facebook, WrestleLine. I want to thank everybody who has been sending in all the emails and news since I've been away. Basically, I'm going to hit this one straight off the top because I've got to get this out of the way with, and I've only got there's some real difficult criteria with this because I can't say certain things, and I only have I think it's a minute. I'm just looking at my document that I've got to abide by. So anyway, look, they've let me do this because I expressed to them that I needed to do this to let the listeners, especially my long time listeners, know about the future of the podcast, mainly in WrestleLine. So basically, here's the deal. After, I believe, the end of April, WrestleLine will no longer, unfortunately, have a podcast. We will still have videos, still will have the YouTube channel, and pretty much be on Instagram like I have been. But in terms of the podcast, it will no longer exist. And instead, the feed that I'm running it on will automatically go into another podcast under the banner of Movie Line. Completely different field, obviously different industry, and you guys, under no circumstance, if you're not into films and movies, come off, do not subscribe after then. I get that totally, but the feed will roll over into Movie Line. The reason for this, the reason there won't be a podcast is basically the last couple of weeks I've been going up and down to London quite a bit, and I've been trying to sort something out radio wise, and finally something's happened. I still can't say anything until a certain time. I have to also run my sponsors up until April because that's just what the agreement was. And then on the other side of things, like contractual agreements, I can't do anything. Not even even though I do this as a personal thing, it's not a business as such, I'm still not able to deliver anything audio based in wrestling with my name on it. So that's been the real difficulty. There's been no ways around it. I have tried to come up with some compromises, but at the end of the day, what I'm going into, who I'm going to be working with, there was just no sort of ways around it, and unfortunately there won't be any more wrestling podcast. However, I will be doing film podcasts. But like I said, if you like listening to me, you like WrestleLine, you've been a long time fan, please still stick with us on the YouTube channel, because I'm still going to be doing the news outlets for WrestleLine. Nobody else, only for WrestleLine in terms of video content. It's only audio content that will be different and won't be any more podcasts too. So I thought I'd better get out of the way with, because I wanted to be upfront and honest. I think I've probably gone over the minutes I was allowed to actually talk about it, but hey ho, we'll see what comes back on that one. Anyway, let's move on with some wrestling, shall we, because that's what we're here for. I want to thank, as I said, everybody who's been in touch. Also, everybody's been hitting me up about what happened last Saturday at Triumph Wrestling. I'm going to have I don't really want to talk about it too much, other than I will say I was very, very satisfied with the outcome, the ending, and everybody asking me for the reasons of apparently something happened at the end of it. But I'm not going to discuss that here. I'm gonna literally bide my time, and when I'm ready, I'll release an interview about it, and I'll give my reasonings and to what I think happened in that match, with regards to our first feature match. Anyway, let's move on with some WWE news first then, shall we? And it's been reported that WWE and ESPN are in early talks about WWE reaching an agreement that will take WWE pay-per-views back on the market. So this means that WWE have really probably knuckled down and seen the success of AEW's pay-per-view stream at the moment, and it looks like I can't remember when WWE came away from doing pay-per-views as a sort of solo package now, but it was quite a few years back now. Obviously, we've been blessed with having it on the network. Now it seems WWE are going to come away from that, and they are now going to go back into the pay-per-view business under ESPN. That will mean if you're living in North America, at least, you'd have to get ESPN like subscription, which I think the smallest price is like $4.99, don't quote me on that one, and then you'd have to pay the pay-per-view price, which in most pay-per-view businesses like UFC prices, AEW sort of around this, would be around $65 per pay-per-view. Now that is an incredible step up to what we get now for $9.99 on the network, where we get everything included. Now, what does this mean for the WWE network? Not too much has come out about that. I would imagine that the price would either significantly go down, or they're going to put a hell of a lot more content on there to, you know, make up for this not having the pay-per-view streams on there, because this is a really big decision that WWE would have made to come to this conclusion. They were solely out of the pay-per-view business, but now AEW, I think, has basically turned their hand. Like, they've had to do this now. They've reacted so much to AEW that they're going to go back into the pay-per-view business, which I'm sure was never their intentions when they went to WWE Network, including everything in that package. So lots to come from that. I'm sure we'll hear a lot more about that next week as well. Sticking with AEW and pay-per-views, it turns out Germany, who dropped WWE, the Sky dropped WWE in Germany, which was a massive thing because you know, they basically had WWE for such a long time. I think they worked that deal out since '92, when SummerSlam was like really big in the UK. Like, since then, Sky have been, you know, massive supporters of it, pretty much like UK Sky. You know, they've been very, very loyal. But I think the whole pay-per-view thing, you know, going back to what I just discussed, really upset Sky a lot, because all of a sudden people weren't watching it. Obviously people are just watching it all on streaming. I don't think Raw and SmackDown was doing particularly well in numbers, neither was it here really that much on the UK stuff. So anyway, it turns out that Sky Germany have just signed AEW pay-per-views and some content. So this is a massive move, because obviously here we know AEW is, you know, they're being televised through ITV, but imagine if Sky was to wait out after the ITV's initial deal and then go in for AEW. They might actually be doing, statistically, working out the numbers of what AEW currently does, and then Sky could literally run AEW pay-per-views as well, which would be the big coup, and it gets Sky back into the box office business, which is what they had originally with WWE. So this is very, very interesting times, and it's, you know, certainly making WWE, I believe, worry and be a little bit more fearful now what happens in other countries when their TV agreements expire. Where will they go after? So obviously having the pay-per-view business back for WWE is probably going to help their international market more than probably their own home soil North American market. However, big news there for Germany and Sky. Okay, let's go on with some other things now then. So WWE Hall of Fame now. I've been, you know, for such a long time, I have always been a big backer about putting Davy Boy Smith, the British Bulldog, into the Hall of Fame. People that would be a long outstanding listener to my podcast would remember my first ever episode was an interview with Diana Hart, and you know, we probably chatted for about a good 2 hours, and part of that we were talking about Davy Boy Smith. We were really trying to tap into why on earth WWE are so sort of resistant to putting this guy in, such a massive name, British Bulldog in this country. Everyone remembers how massive Wembley 92 was. Finally, it seems that WWE, although it's not confirmed, it's not official, however, it does seem that this is the year. I don't know why this is the year and other years haven't been, but obviously there's been lots of petitions. There's been so much sort of groundwork done by, of course, Georgia Hart-Smith herself, his son Harry. Like the kids have been trying to get this done. Everybody's been trying to get him into the Hall of Fame. I don't know what's resisted, but finally we may get Davy Boy in there. I think it'll be a really great move. And coming off the back of that news as well, and again, like I say, it's not official, so you never say it's completely done until it's made official. However, coming off that, more UK news here is that WWE apparently have been in talks about having a big pay-per-view in the UK. Now, rumours have been circulating WrestleMania. I've got to be honest with you, I don't see WWE putting WrestleMania in the UK, just because the logistics of it, the time difference, when people will be buying the pay-per-views in the US, it would just be an absolute nightmare, because WrestleMania is what it is. I just don't see it being WrestleMania. However, SummerSlam is the one that is also going around as the big rumour. Now, I do see significance with that, and it could be that the reason the timing of Davy Boy Smith, the British Bulldog, going in the Hall of Fame this year is to further sort of like forward this pay-per-view on the back of that sort of momentum of having Davy Boy in there, because we know obviously Davy Boy Smith versus Bret Hart was such a big part of SummerSlam 92, that I've got a feeling maybe WWE 2021 2022 would come to obviously the UK. Now, in terms of stadiums and places and venues, obviously Wembley is the big draw, the big go-to, because obviously it was 92, go back there, return. Obviously it's been completely revamped since they were last there. However, of course, there's lots of other stadiums. My own personal preference, probably because I'm biased, because I am a big Tottenham fan, would be obviously for them to go to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I just think, like, in terms of like the UK, it's probably at this present time one of the best stadiums to put an event on like that. I think with everything they've got there, the capability, I think they could really use the stadium really well. However, you've got places like Cardiff as well, the Millennium Stadium. That's another one being banded around, and a few other places, stadiums that would be mentioned. Obviously Manchester's been up there as well. However, I personally think it will happen in London, and I think it really will be between Wembley and the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. From what I gauge, Wembley is the first shortlist. However, I think there's a big drop off with money there. They may actually look at Tottenham as being a much more ideal setup, especially for the sort of more entertainment side of things for WWE. So we will wait with fingers crossed with that one. Okay, coming to the end of this now, let's just get through some last bits of news here. Then we know that some rumoured matches that are going to be headlining WrestleMania this year have been coming up. Now, John Cena will be back after the Saudi trip. Perfect sense there. People were not expecting to see John Cena back. However, he's coming back. The rumour is John Cena versus Elias. It's not exactly box office money for me, because Elias, they have done nothing with this guy to elevate him into this position. There's nothing against Elias. I think he's an amazing worker, and he should have been there ages ago instead of doing these ridiculous things each year. But I think those ridiculous things each year all of a sudden have paid off for Elias, because they're almost going on the storyline of the last few WrestleManias where he's interrupted Cena a few times, and now he's actually going to get the match. It's almost like to say thank you for doing those ridiculous things. The other big match that I'm quite anticipating for is going to be AJ Styles versus The Undertaker. I think this makes perfect sense. Undertaker needs a guy who can bounce around for him. No better than AJ Styles. Apparently The Undertaker hand-picked his opponent for WrestleMania, and this is a really, really good call, and I'm ecstatic that AJ gets this match. Okay, we're coming right to the end now. I'm going to sum this one up. I will be at DNA Wrestling tomorrow, with a bit of luck Saturday, so if you're going down there, I will see you there. Transport holding out, that is. I will be there. And yes, keep sending your emails. Email at wrestleline.co.uk. Until next time, I've been John Scott, and you've been listening to 15.